Alright, hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. So this video is going to be part 2 of my continued series on how to use Google Earth Pro. Basically, we'll be going over several things. We'll be going over mostly the tools, which you can use to create certain files. These files are usually called KMZ files, and we'll be exploring how to kind of use these to import, edit, and export, basically. Or import, export, and utilize KMZ files, and also KML files. But for starters, though, we'll just look at File. There's the Open button here. You can open pretty much any kind of file. You see you have some KMZ files already open here. You can open pretty much any kind of file, honestly. Just that the Google Earth files are set by default towards the top. At least right here they are. Save, again, you can just save points or save to my places. Save place as, pretty self-explanatory, just save to my places. And yeah. Then email, we have, you can email placemark, email view, email image. Those will make more sense later on. Viewing Google Maps, again, that's just in viewing what it says, what you think it says. Viewing Google Maps will open up a new browser. As well, viewing Google Earth on web. Print, you print out the map. Import, it's basically exactly like open, except you don't import KMZ files or KML files because it already reads them. Finally, we have server sign out, which is really not that important. Edit, cut. Again, you see it's just cut something. One of the places I had. I messed up. Okay, yeah, so I had to paste it back. So cut, copy. That's exactly what it does. Copy image. Again, basically just copies the image. Copy view location, etc. Paste. We just did that. Control V. Delete. Delete. Find. Refresh. Rename. Self-explanatory. Just click on R. And there's an option to rename. You can see this little marker here. Snapshot view. It's not that useful. Sort A to Z. I mean, this works with like elements in a folder. It doesn't really work with elements that are in different folders. Delete contents. I mean, I guess that's something you click on the folder and it will delete the contents. Split part multi-geometry. It really doesn't do much either. It just adds an elevation profile to one of these. So for example, you just click split. This base 1 is point. Boise 2 is a linear ring. Boise 2 is a linear ring. And then basically, you can show elevation profile. And this is basically one of the main uses for it. Yeah, you can have this sort of box drawn around wherever you've basically split the thing. Yeah, so I'm gonna delete that. Let's see, delete that. And yeah. And of course, we still have the show elevation profile here. And I think that's because we have Boise selected, and again, just shows pretty much the exact same thing, although it's not yet a path. Oh, actually, it's a path here because we're clicking on it, so you can just see through. You can see the perimeter, and you can see the height of the perimeter, basically, or depending on where you started. And of course, properties again are just sort of, whoops. Yeah, so this is just edit place marks. But yeah, actually, no, they introduced this actually more earlier than I would have liked. You'll see with properties that can be used with things like place marks and polygons, paths, and so forth. But we'll move on for now. So you have the View tab. View tab is probably the simplest, I think, in my opinion. Again, you can get rid of the toolbar. Get rid of the toolbar up top. Sidebar, again, it's the bar on the side. You can see it goes away. Full screen is what it sounds like. View size. You can change the resolution. Show navigation. You can say I want compass only. You can just, but you should be fine with just using it automatically. Status bar, again, it shows the status bar down below. You remove the status bar. Shows up back up again. It's this little thing right here with the altitude and the coordinates. Grid, again, it just puts a grid over the map. I think you can adjust it somehow. Yeah, well, you can adjust the grid size. But it's not that important. And then overview map, again, it just produces this little thing right here. There's a crosshair, red crosshair where exactly it's focused on. Let's see, where are we? And scale legend, again, we have the scale legend. Sorry, wait, I gotta turn off the overview map. And then we have the legend. Where is it? Okay, well that's embarrassing. I can't find the scale legend. It should be somewhere around here. But whatever. It's not that important to me. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, I found it. It's right over here. It's 4.3 miles. 4.345 miles. It's down here, the bottom left. So again, you can just kind of remove that if you want, but I'll just leave it on there because it's cool. Of course, we looked at some things with I think layers. We have atmosphere, sun, historical imagery. Historical imagery. You can basically go back to as far back as the data allows. So I think this is something like 1984 is when you can first see this particular photo. And then yeah, it says 1220, so it's relevant as of 2020. All right, and then we have Explore. It's not really useful for our purposes because we're just looking at Earth. Resets, again, pretty much resets everything. Make this my start location. Again, if Google Earth starts up, then this is the location it'll start up. Tools. So the most important tool is the ruler, but we're going to use that in a second. Tables, again, it's just sort of, if you have some sort of data points or places, you can add some tables of information. You can also import them from things like Excel and CSV files. GPS, you can import GPS coordinates actually into Google Earth Pro. Movie Maker basically just records whatever's on your screen at the particular place on Google Earth. So basically you can just sort of fly in and out of places, view things. It's really helpful for making some educational presentations. And regionate basically just means that if you're working with some files that have like lots and lots of little subcomponents, like for example lots of place marks, basically it won't show them all if you're all the way zoomed out. So this can really help on performance things. And Flight Simulator, again, it's sort of, if you've ever seen a flight simulator, if you've ever partaken in a flight simulator, it's basically the same thing. You start on the ground, you go down the runway, and then eventually take off. So add, again, we've seen, we can add a folder. We can just add a folder here. We can call it folder 1. Or no, it's not folder 1, folder, comma, it's not, folder quote. We can do the exact same thing here. We can add folder. And it will and because we clicked on this folder, it shows folder 2 below. Now, yeah, that's basically how you add a folder. Okay, place mark, path, polygon, model. Place mark, paths, and polygons are basically on the toolbar. We'll get to that in a little bit. Model is basically just used for 3D. It's not terribly important. Tour, sort of, you can create your own tours. I haven't played around with this all that much, but it's not exactly useful from like a business perspective. Photo. This is photo overlay, so we'll get to that soon as well. Image overlay, again, very similar to an image or photo overlay, and then network link as well. Yeah, it's what exactly it sounds like. You just link to some network. Don't know if it has to be online or offline, but I think that okay, yeah, so it could be offline. That's right. Okay, so of course we have the help tool, but just basically your standard stuff. So finally, we're going to get to the toolbar. First off, we have these things called place marks. Basically, this shows up the properties tab, and the properties are almost all the same, regardless of whether it's a place mark or a polygon or a path or something else, maybe a model. You're going to have very similar things. For example, here you have the latitude, where the current place mark is at. Now, if I drag this yellow thing around with the yellow pin or the untitled place mark, you can change the location. You can see it's changed the latitude and the longitude. I can click on this button here. I can choose whatever sort of little place mark holder I want. I'll just leave it yellow for now. Here you can add a description to it, or you can add links, web images, and local images. They'll basically create some sort of pop-up, like the ones we've done in a previous video. So you can also color the label. Let's say green. This will make the label green, and it's green here. Opacity, so 100%. We can make that lower. We can make that 50%. And yes, we just enter that. Now you can see it's a little bit transparent, but we can also return to our view, return to our settings, and we can set it back. and now it's less transparent. So we'll go back to properties, and we can set this particular color to green. Oh wait, no, not green. Let's try red. And our marker is red. And we can also change the opacity of this, just as pretty much anything else. So the next function we have is a polygon. Oh, sorry, hang on. I should have mentioned. So we have style, color. These are the things you can do. You can scale up. This makes it bigger or larger depending on how you want to see it. View is, again, it's just your personal view. For example, yeah, it's just the coordinates of your view, basically the point you're viewing from. So for example, latitude, it gives you the latitude and longitude of the exact place you're hovering over, basically. Where you're viewing the ground from. Range, again, is 95,214 meters, so we're at 935 kilometers above the ground. Heading, again, it just gives us our heading. Direction, tilt. Again, if we tilt it a little bit, then it should tilt more or less. I mean, that's what it does. Then we have the date and time stamp. Again, we don't really need to worry about this. And then altitude. You could clamp it, but it's not really much use to using altitude here. I mean, you can use relative to the ground at 0 meters. Relative to 4. You can change the altitude. It's something like 20 meters. And it will change the place mark now. I think that. Let's see if the place mark is there. Okay. Okay, yeah, so it definitely looks like it could be kind of above 20 points. But again, altitude is not really that necessary. And you can actually do exactly the same things you can do with place marks. You can draw polygons. Let's just call this one polygon 1. Now basically what you do is that you just basically mark places on the map. So for example, I have one point here, another point here, we have a line, we have, and then we have 3 points, which is a triangle, 4 points, which is a quadrilateral, and we have the coloration from last time. So we have, let's try to change this to white, let's try and change this to, actually let's try to change the opacity, and we can see that we have a fully opaque shape. So let's see. Now what you can actually do is you can do some things. You can drag each little point. Hang on. I sort of messed up a little bit. So basically drag points. Basically, I'm going to delete this actually because, yeah, okay. So basically you just mark points based on what sort of polygon you want to draw. So quadrilateral will always have 4 points. Pentagon, 5. And you have to be kind of careful because you need to draw specific shapes. You can actually just draw out the points that you're looking for. And of course, if you just throw it like outside the shape, then it can create some problems. We can always just delete and start again. And yes, if you click, right click, then it should be okay. So that's roughly how you make polygons. Again, if you want to make polygons, you want to make 2 polygons, you're going to have to make 2 separate polygons. So for example, I'll just start one here, call it polygon 1. And then I'll make another one, polygon 2. Polygon 2. You can see they're all under, let's just get rid of this one because I don't really need it. So they're all under folder 2. Basically what you can do is that you can save the folder, and if you save the folder and open it up, it will show both of these, but that's a little bit for later. Basically, so that's polygons. Paths are pretty simple. It's just lines connected to each other, similar to the polygon. And you can also move around the endpoints of paths. Again, like polygons, they have the style and color, although this one is only one. Actually, no, I gotta go back. So, polygons, click on the properties. So you have the same thing. You have the view features, you have the stylizations, descriptions that are the same with place marks. So altitude is different. Measurements. This measures the perimeter. It's in miles. We can easily change this to kilometers. 23.9 kilometers. Area 10 square miles. Or 26.1 square kilometers. Yeah. And then it's basically the same thing with paths. Paths, again, you have the same sort of tool set. Description, style, color, view, not there. Altitude, not really important. Measurements. Our length here is 13.4 kilometers. And finally, we have our image overlay. Now, basically, you're going to need to browse for these images. So we have here a white image. And we can change the size of this. Let's see. Yes, we can change the size. We can reposition it. We can, let's see, opacity. Okay, so we have the image here. We can demonstrate. It's basically in the shape of a square, right? Not square, rectangle right now. We change the opacity so we can actually see the stuff that's beneath that. So basically, we can overlay it. We can zoom out. Of course, if we click that, we can move around. Yeah, so this is basically just the image overlay. It's pretty simple. So we'll just leave it there, because, I mean, why not? Let's see. This is, hang on one second. Record a tour, again, we've went over this, right? If you just fly around with your Google Earth map, you can basically just record a tour, various places around Google Earth. This is, again, historical imagery, sunlight, not that important, sky and earth, we'll cover that. Ruler. Now, a ruler is really useful. We were already able to show some measurements using, like, for example, paths and polygons, but we can just use a ruler to kind of measure it out completely for us. So we have line here, 7 kilometers. We have a path. We just make multiple lines. Polygon. We just have this. Actually, just does the perimeter. It's not really a polygon. Circle. Again, we click a place, and we just draw a circular radius. 3D paths, 3D polygons. These only really work for 3D buildings. Are really useful for 3D buildings and terrain features like mountains and stuff like that. And finally, we have email. You can just email the entire map to somebody. You can use it as a screenshot. You can send it as a current view. You can do select the place mark and folder, and then you just email it somehow. Print, again, pretty simple, self-explanatory. You just print it out. Save image. Just, again, save the image. It's nothing really hard to see. Google Maps, Google Earth, again, we've been over that. So finally, what we want to do is we want to discuss how we can import and export things as shapefiles and KMZ files and Excel files. So start by saving. We have polygon 1. If we go down to save to my place, sorry, no, that's the wrong one. If we go down to save place as, we have the option to save it as a KMZ or KML file. Now, Google Earth can only save these little places as KMZ or KML files. A KML file is a keyhole markup language file, and a KMZ file is just the zipped version of that file. So usually they're kind of interchangeable. It's just the KMZ files are mostly used for lots of place marks and not so much images or maps. So I'm just going to save this as polygon 1 and save that. Now, if we delete this, we can reopen it back up. So basically we have polygon 1, and it shows us this little polygon here again that we can delete this untitled image overlay. Let's basically show back up. Now, what we can do is we can also combine 2 polygons. So for example, put them in polygon 1. You can save folder as Save to my places. Oops. I just misclicked on that. Okay, so we'll try again. We'll save place as folder 2. And we'll delete that. Open folder 2. And then you see we have the thing show up. I know it was already there, but if you did that, the gist is that if you have a folder and you save it as a KMZ file and you open that folder, then it will just open up everything below it. So yeah. In KMZ files, again, you can save place marks. Save place marks as KMZ files, for example. We'll rename this. And you can also save this. This doesn't really matter what you want. And yeah, so again, with opening things again, it will default to KMZ files because that's the only thing that's what Google Earth is really meant for. And you still have all these options, but basically, most useful applications for Google Earth, you can use either Excel CSV tables, which I don't actually have access to Excel. You can use Esri Shapefiles. You can get the Esri Shapefiles are just a little bit sort of technical. I couldn't exactly find any, but I'll link to the description how to import and export Esri Shapefiles and Excel tables. And finally, can you import GPS coordinates, which I don't have a GPS device on me or any sort of GPS software, but basically can also do that too. So I'll try to find some links to that. But yeah, so it's basically just the Google Earth. You basically just use these tools to create shapes and places and so forth, and that basically mark places that have meaning. This is, in essence, the bread and butter of Google Earth Pro. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We're getting to the end. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to know. You just need to know how to navigate, use the tools to create shapes and place marks and other useful things that you might want to use a map for. And yeah, so that concludes this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.